This is part 2 of a video about the need for development of the Gestalt approach. Let me get back to the critique number 1. If a client with high awareness enters a therapeutic approach that is about increasing awareness, what difference does the therapy make? Let me reply that right away. At the European Association for Gestalt Therapies 10th conference in Berlin in 2010, I was among the audience watching a panel debating how Gestalt therapy is reflected in recent development in different sciences. Among the members of the panel was Gerhard Stemberger, an Austrian psychotherapist and doctor of philosophy. At one point, he replied that he could not understand the strive for scientific recognition. He saw that as a dead end for a phenomenology-oriented psychotherapy as Gestalt therapy. He said, and I quote, "Phenomenology is the gold." That was a powerful statement, and I couldn't agree more. Phenomenology is the gold. Gestalt therapy has created and developed, I dare to say, a timeless approach. As Gestalt therapists, we can take great pride in our ability to work with phenomenology in the here and now. However, this great approach has a limitation. To rely on the here and now only is a dead end. What we need is a tool that can navigate the process of the here and now in a session after session perspective. What we need is process overview. Phenomenology combined with process overview will be potent therapy and an exciting development. Moreover, it will fit the needs of the high awareness clients of today. The good news is that Gestalt therapists do have process overview. It's already there, we just don't use it. For 60 years, Gestalt therapy has collected experience of how to work in the here and now, how to work with the immediate moments of human expressions. It's delicate work and difficult to learn, but when the skills are properly developed, the therapeutic moments appears as a natural flow. This know-how is the core of the Gestalt skills. But what happens if we look at all these therapeutic moments from a meta perspective? Are they isolated islands, or in fact, an unrecognized process overview? A Gestalt therapist will know how to work with anger in a number of different ways. There's the work regarding expressing anger, regarding decisions based on anger, regarding withheld anger, regarding fear of anger, regarding real-life face-to-face anger, regarding insights from anger. All of this is moments familiar to a Gestalt therapist. At the same time, it could be a process overview regarding working with anger. If the anger is withheld, that is where the process begins, to recognize the anger in the first place. Withheld anger will most likely be connected to some kind of fear of anger. The next step will be to try to express some anger. This will generate a lot of insights. The insights will naturally lead towards decisions and perhaps the need to express some anger face to face with another person. As we all know, there's no such thing as a manual for human development. A process overview is not a manual, it's a guide. It can be put to the test of how well it works with actual clients. Perhaps it will be a great help with 9 out of 10 clients. And when it's not a great help, we do have our phenomenology skills to notice and intervene in a proper way. It's a win-win setup to have the process overview in mind. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, we do what is needed in that specific and special situation. Let me share another example of process overview. This is what I see as the general phases of a completed course of individual Gestalt therapy. There is a clear starting point, a clear direction, a clear procedure, and a clear ending. I believe the awareness of the process overview is so beneficial that I have published this structure as a notebook called Process, in which I explain what the 5 phases are about. I give this notebook to my clients so they can have a process overview as well. Another way to describe a course of Gestalt therapy can be in these 5 phases. The beginning of the process is about defining the goal and exploration of the circumstances that have led to the need of therapy. This exploration will provide insights and meaningful explanations. This will naturally lead into a decision process, to experiments, for instance as 2-chair work, which will serve as a development of the client's resources. When the client feels ready, the therapy will focus on the everyday life in form of observations and experiments between the sessions. The final phase will be about the recognition of positive change. Of course, this is not a step-by-step chronological description. The 5 phases can switch places, they can be repeated and so on. But nevertheless, from a meta perspective, based on experience, this seems to be the typical phases of a course of Gestalt therapy. Yet another process overview is this simple Gestalt diagnose of the client's resources and level of competence. It's especially useful when evaluating long-term therapy. The beginning of long-term therapy is characterized by a client that is not able to take proper care of him or herself in decisive ways. Down the road, progress is measured by that the client experience and recognize that he or she is now able to take proper care of oneself. As a Gestalt therapist, I also like to keep an eye on that the development of ego strength and decision power doesn't turn the client into a selfish, egocentric personality, but that the process implies the big picture, how to interact with mutual respect. Along with the recognition of the positive change, this defines the final phase of the long-term course of Gestalt therapy. To sum up my reply, phenomenology combined with process overview, this is what I suggest. The Gestalt session remains the timeless here and now phenomenology approach, but added to the work is the Gestalt therapist know-how of process overview. Some Gestalt therapists might say that the process of here and now is compromised by the use of a note system and process overview, but I strongly question that. On paper, it appears as a big change to Gestalt therapy, but why not take it to the test of actual therapy sessions? I have used this approach for several years, and I will claim that my ability to work in the here and now is in no way compromised by this background thinking. On the contrary, the process of the here and now is enhanced and has a better flow, only adding to the quality of the therapy. As Gestalt therapists, we all have process overviews, whether it's recognized as such in a conscious way, or whether it's in the back of the mind working from the subconscious. Couldn't it be exciting if we, as a Gestalt community, shared our process overviews? That all of these precious moments of experience could be put together as general Gestalt insights. Imagine a homepage filled with contributions from Gestalt therapists all over the world, describing what they have experienced as typical phases dealing with all kinds of subjects, with detailed descriptions or just the general headlines. We could share our process overviews when working with sexuality, when working with grief, when working with self-esteem, when working with addiction, and so on. We could then have a Gestalt library of phenomenology-based process overviews. How would this contribute to Gestalt therapy all over the world? I see a very appealing vision. If you find this appealing too, please come forward. Just send your writing to notes.gestalt@gmail.com. I invite any Gestalt therapist to share his or her process overviews. I hope we will end up being a bunch of people turning hundreds or perhaps even thousands of phenomenology-based process overviews into a useful database. If enough Gestalt therapists comes forward, I will make a free of charge site for this purpose only. I said in the beginning of part 1 that my thinking is largely based on these two questions. What is the client's best interest? And how can Gestalt therapy meet this interest? Well, I came up with a clear answer. The client's best interest is to get help. It might seem quite obvious, but nevertheless it's helpful, at least it is to me, to keep in mind what it's all about. That a client approaches a therapist to get help. My answer to how can Gestalt therapy meet this interest is to develop a contemporary Gestalt approach. Summing up, this is a suggestion for a contemporary Gestalt approach. The here and now combined with process overview and a proper note system. Bringing these elements together will both imply continuing the core Gestalt therapy skills of here and now, and it is a development since new tools is added to the basic Gestalt approach, in order to meet the needs and conditions of clients today. This video is made by Stefan Green Meinel. I'm a Danish Gestalt therapist. I've had a private practice since 2000. The upper picture is from my summer vacation in 2010. The below picture is my office in Copenhagen. I'm a member of the European Association for Gestalt Therapy. Furthermore, I'm a teacher and a therapist of Touching Dialogue, which is body-centered psychotherapy. Thank you for listening.